Welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Vertex AI. Today we are tackling a concept that's rapidly redefining how businesses operate, agents. But not just the virtual agents you might be familiar with in the contact center. We're talking about Agentspace, Google's revolutionary platform that brings search, AI, and true agentic capabilities directly to your employees. To unpack this transformational shift, we are incredibly fortunate to be joined by Stuart Moncada, Product Management Lead for Google Cloud AI Search and Agents. Stuart will explain how Agentspace is transforming enterprise operations from empowering employees with autonomous AI that grounds on your secure enterprise data to enabling entirely new ways of working that go far beyond just simple automation. So let's jump straight in as our own Caleb Johnson kicks off the conversation with Stuart.
All right, welcome everybody to our next episode of Unlocking Vertex AI. This week we are joined by Stuart Moncada from Google, and I'm going to hand it to Stuart here for a moment just to kind of introduce himself, kind of what all he's responsible for at Google, and then we're going to get into the topic of Agentspace and the impact, the fit, where it belongs in the market, how companies are using it. So it should be a good conversation. So Stuart, I'll start with you. If you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb, for having me. I'm Stuart Moncada. I lead our product management teams for Cloud AI, Search, and Agents at Google. So really that covers all of our search products, including our search applications for website search, commerce search, as well as our search platform for developers for RAG and grounding, our vector search product. And then on the other side, I cover agents. So everything under the agent builder umbrella under Vertex AI, which includes our new ADK, A2A protocol, agent engine, and a couple of the other products that we've been really focusing on recently. And then of course, Agentspace, which brings together both of those worlds of search and agents into a single offering.
Wow, that's perfect. So let's start with Agentspace, and to give some context, I know like TTEC Digital, our world, we live in the customer experience space. We do a lot of work around the contact center. So when we hear agents, we think human agents at times, or we think virtual agents on the front end, supporting customers. But I think Agentspace is really expanding the concept of an agent and what it can be, what it can do. So can you kind of help us position, Agentspace, kind of what is it? How are people using it right now?
For sure. Yeah. So Agentspace is a platform that brings search, AI, and agents to an enterprise's employees, right? Okay. So you can think about it very much like a SaaS platform. So it's a little bit different than our cloud offering that's targeted primarily at builders to build experiences, to build products. So it's very much a platform targeted broadly at the employees. So you can have hundreds of thousands of employees using Agentspace at a given organization, right? And then one key part is, a lot of times in the customer experience, customer service arena, people have been using the term agents for many years to describe like assistants and or even the actual person, an agent helping a customer. So when we talk about agents, we're talking about agents very much in the definition of generative AI that's come out in the last couple of years. So Agentspace is not a platform that's focused on contact center applications. It's a platform that's focused broadly for employees. And when we talk about agents, we talk about agents in the scope of Gen AI. So an application that can be autonomous and that can work towards a goal and use tools and Gen AI to complete those goals and achieve something. So that's broadly how we're thinking about agents with respect to Agentspace.
Okay, I mean that helps a lot. So when I look at it from, we've definitely enabled people in the contact center and shifted into the back office over the years with some kind of automation capabilities. It was typically RPA, RDA type of capabilities, right? A very linear. Okay, let's go and capture this task that someone's doing 100 times. Let's automate some portion or all of it if we can. I see Agentspace kind of going into that area or that arena where you start to replace some of these RPA tools that exist in a business, and now it's really just going to use AI to be able to fully automate, reason, be able to take action on behalf of people from these repetitive tasks. Am I thinking of it kind of the right way?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's the ability to use agentic capabilities to help employees. From an employee requesting some content to be generated, or some assistance, some summarization. But really, the way we're seeing things evolve, forward looking is more along the terms of autonomy, and having agents that can, perform work on an employee's behalf. An employee can still be there to summarize or to approve or to action certain things, but it doesn't mean you have to. You're just constrained to a chat like assistive experience. So that's really how we're thinking about things. And this whole concept of ambient agents has become popular recently. It's been trending, but that's really agents that can perform actions off of events or information streams, and not necessarily just a human in the loop type of activity.
No, that's interesting. Ambient's a new one for me. So I was just starting to get my head around agentic and what the possibilities there. So when you think about ambient, I just want to dig into that a little bit more, because I think it's really interesting. Do you differentiate it from agentic, or is agentic kind of the broader capability and ambient's kind of a version of it?
Yeah, I think ambient is a version of it. It's not, the term being used are ambient agents. So they're still agentic, but the key difference is, it could be an agent that's monitoring some information stream. And that could be your email inbox, that could be logs from a system, that could be your calendar, and it's actually proactively performing some type of action, which is quite different than a lot of the, when Gen AI first came out, a lot of the initial applications were very much focused on the consumer aspect, and they were very much like a chatbot experience. Sure. So you had to ask for something and you would get a response. And also those applications did not tend to be grounded on your enterprise data, right? So they were good for general purpose summarization, or if you upload a document and you say, can you summarize this, or can you create this? But it wasn't really, it didn't have access or information or knowledge of your enterprise use cases, your enterprise data. Now, that's one of the trends that we're really trying to push forward with Agentspace, and that's one of the differentiators with Agentspace. It's grounded on your enterprise data with all of the applications that come with Agentspace. That's a big focus, to have it connected to your SharePoint, your Google Workspace, your Outlook, your Jira, your Confluence, so that these agents are more powerful because they are grounded to your enterprise data. They do have secure access to some of that information, so that they're able to perform autonomous tasks and perform knowledge retrieval a little bit more intelligently.
Okay. Well, you kind of went a direction that I wanted to go, which was kind of call it limitations for the moment, but the idea that this doesn't have to be all in Google Cloud necessarily. We're talking about linking applications together, whether it's CRM, whether it's knowledge hubs, it's SharePoint, like what you're talking about. But the starting point might be inside of Agentspace, inside of GCP. I'm guessing from a security standpoint, that gives you some kind of comfort, right? But then you can also link this into external applications to be able to execute tasks, right?
That's exactly right. So the whole goal with Agentspace is to have it be connected to an enterprise's applications and data. When we designed and we set out to build Agentspace, we didn't want to build it for the Google ecosystem, just for Google Workspace, or just for X or Y ecosystem. We wanted it to be built for the enterprise ecosystem. So that meant connecting into Salesforce, ServiceNow, SharePoint, whether it's Microsoft or Google Workspace. So that's why those connectors are critical, because we do want to be able to bring in that enterprise data and bring in those connectors and really connect that enterprise ecosystem to have a more powerful platform.
Sure. Okay. That makes a ton of sense. So, I mean, from an ROI standpoint of value in the market, obviously being able to automate things, some that can be easy to quantify at some level, right? I may need less people working on repetitive tasks, but I just want to get your perspective when you look at this from how companies are using it, going to use it, cost savings perspective, kind of like how do you view that? Kind of what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think there's a few things to keep in mind here. One trend that happened when Gen AI first came out was in 2023 and more the end of 2023, so more 2024 was enterprises didn't necessarily have a centralized kind of top-down strategy on how to leverage Gen AI. So
Sure.
what happened in that vacuum is that employees ended up, bringing their own tools to work, right? So you had a lot of the bottoms up approach. Now the trend I'm seeing in the last few months is enterprises, they're starting to wrap their heads around Gen AI. The technology is more mature. There's platforms like Agentspace that are really focused on the enterprise use case and security and privacy. So now I do see a lot more of that top-down approach. And whereas 2024, people were still very much in POC mode, and 2025 is really about taking agents to production. And that's like a tangible goal that I see a lot of enterprises really focusing on. So those are a couple trends that have led to a lot of the great momentum we're seeing with Agentspace. Is organizations are looking at overall what's going to be our Gen AI strategy. How are we going to take agents to our enterprise? And then B, there's the technology there that's a little bit more mature and is focused on security, privacy. It has the connectors to really make it specific to the enterprise use case. And then to the second part of your question is, whether it's productivity or other value drivers. Really, productivity is the low-hanging fruit. But one thing that I see a lot of organizations focusing on is it's not just about productivity. Like Gen AI is really about reimagining, and agents is really about reimagining the way you work, right? So it's beyond productivity. Productivity seems almost a little bit of a linear kind of focus. It's about exponential growth. It's about doing things you are not able to do without Gen AI, right? It's like, whether you have an agent that's able to do hyper-targeted video creation at scale that allows you to target specific markets you were not able to before. That's something you wouldn't be able to because you actually had to have physical people go out and record and then give it to video production and do post-production. So that it's really not just about the productivity. It's about really redefining and reimagining the way you work with AI and agents.
Yeah, I think you're no, it's a really good take, because I was having a conversation with somebody last week about this internally at TTEC, and we were talking about kind of the capabilities with Gen AI, and I think really it's like the human now seems to be the limitation of what's possible. Like the tools are there now. Like you can actually go, and to your point, you can really change the way that you operate, change the way that you do business. But it's kind of, can we get past our own selves of how we can actually leverage these applications to go do more? So it's really interesting. Is there anything that surprised you so far when you think about like how you see people adopting this, how they're using it, where you go, wow, that's pretty cool?
I think one of the things that surprised me is just the overall interest, the broad interest. It's the traction we're having with customers in terms of getting into the product, using it, rolling it out at the organizations is a lot more than I expected. In having those conversations in 2023 with customers, before we had Agentspace in 2024, end of 2023 and 2024, we were talking about building agents, and companies were interested, but they were very much in the POC stages. And now it just feels like the combination of the technology being better and there being actually a purpose-built platform like Agentspace, and then the second part being it's just a top priority for all organizations, is because otherwise the competition is going to adopt agents, and you can see the viral growth of some of these Gen AI startups now, where adoption is just faster than ever. So speed to market is actually a key differentiator, and whether you adopt agents or not, it is definitely, could be a differentiator for your organization. And then the second part is the other surprise is just, even though Agentspace is out of the box platform, there is still very much a lot of interest in extending the capabilities of Agentspace, right? So there's a lot of interest we're seeing with people building custom agents with our new agent development kit, our ADK, and then deploying them on Agentspace. So I've also seen more interest in that user journey than I initially anticipated.
Now, that may be a whole nother topic that we get into at some point in the future on the ADK, because I think that's definitely going to change things. It's going to change how we operate, right? Like how we approach projects, how we're building agents today. By far, I think Google's way far ahead when it comes to the usability of these tools and actually putting, I'm going to call it an interface, but putting an entry point around it to where it makes it easier to go and develop, deploy, get these things into production. So that's really good. Last thing here, because we get this question a lot, and I think you kind of hinted at it. We hear from companies that come to us and they say, hey, we have an executive initiative that says we got to go leverage Gen AI. And then we say, okay, well, what do you want to go do? And they go, I don't know, but we just have to do something. Right. So when you think about both from like a technical skill that's required inside a business, as well as just how do you get started? Because we get that a lot. I'd love to get your take on what you've seen and what you're advising companies to go do of like, all right, we want to go leverage this, but where do we start?
Yeah, my advice is usually get started, because don't sit on the sidelines, because it's actually a real concern I've seen with so many enterprises is because the space is moving so fast, because there's a new open source framework every other month, whether it's like this, LangChain is popular, then LangGraph. There's almost like a hesitation to invest because organizations are scared that, they're going to get locked into some specific tool and it's going to be outdated or irrelevant in a few weeks. So I would say like get started, think of it holistically from a platform approach. And the worst thing you could do is not do anything. And then the second part, maybe a little bit more tangible and tactical, is prioritize high value use cases. So prioritize use cases that'll drive ROI. This will help actually build momentum internally and support for these efforts. If people can see tangible value, they're more likely to invest resources to be a part of the effort and to really move things forward. And then the third thing I would say is, for most organizations, like 99%, you probably want to look into buying some capabilities. I know there's a lot of teams that have builders and you tend to want to build a lot of technology, but this space is just moving so rapidly, and it's really a tall ask to ask internal teams to build out like an all-encompassing Gen AI platform. And it's hard for me to keep up, and I'm in this space day in and day out. I can just imagine a company who's not focused on building AI products that's saying, hey, build this Gen AI platform for our organization. And that's why we decided to build something like Agentspace, and because we feel it gets organizations 80% of the way there. You get out-of-the-box connectors, you get some out-of-the-box agents, you get knowledge discovery, search, and assistant. But if you really want to build something specific to your company, then you have the ability to build those custom agents and extend the capabilities of Agentspace, right? And then, so all of those things about like having to keep up with the latest model and, a new version and updating and doing evals, like with Agentspace, you don't worry about that because that's handled by the platform, right? So there's a lot of benefits to just getting something out of the box. Building agents is hard. It's just a hard thing to do because it's non-deterministic. It's a completely new way of doing software development. So those are a couple pointers. Get started, leverage some platforms, and focus on business value.
No, that's great advice. I do think that's where the approach that you guys have taken with the marketplace, and being able for whether it's partners or companies to be able to publish agents, and whether they want to license them or make them for free, make it available for free, right? Where people can get a starting point and be able to launch into it quicker, faster. I definitely think that's a game changer, because I mean, even at TTEC, we're looking at our internal processes and going, okay, we can go automate these things, but let's go take these agents that we've built and let's go publish them. Let's make it available in the marketplace, so that if somebody's wanting to go do whatever it is, help desk automation, or to your point, monitoring software, then you've got an agent that's already, halfway there at least, that can go and be deployed quicker, faster. So that's really good. Well, Stuart, I don't want to take up too much of your time. This has been enlightening, I think. I really appreciate you taking time for us. I'd definitely love to have you come back, 6 months from now, because I think who knows what things are going to be happening. What the possibilities are kind of endless at this point. So it's rapidly changing, but this is a really, really good starting point. So thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome.